The universe tore apart around them. Commander Zaroth gripped his command chair as reality itself seemed to scream. The Seathrill Imperial fleet had been traveling through hyperspace, following routes their people had used for centuries. Then something went horribly wrong. Warning lights flooded every screen. The ship's computer voice spoke in rapid clicks, the Cathal language sounding harsh even in crisis. Gravitational anomaly detected. Emergency exit from hyperspace in 3 seconds. Zaroth barely had time to order his crew to brace before the fleet was violently thrown back into normal space. Ships tumbled through the void like leaves in a storm. His own vessel, the Bright Talon, spun 3 times before the emergency thrusters could stop the rotation. Damage report. Zaroth commanded, his mandibles clicking together in stress. Engineer Vaughn's 4 arms moved across multiple control panels at once. The Braca species was known for being pessimistic, and today Vaughn had every reason to be. Main engines offline. FTL drive is burned out completely. Whole breaches on decks 7 through 9. Life support is stable, but we used 40% of our emergency power just stopping the spin. Zaroth felt his heart sink. He had 2 of them, like all krill, and both seemed to pound against his armored chest. What about the rest of the fleet? Navigator Prime Thesha's energy form flickered with what Zaroth had learned to recognize as concern. The Luminari were beings of pure light and energy, logical creatures who rarely showed emotion. 37 warships, 3 colony vessels, and 7 support craft responded to the emergency ping. 5 ships are not responding. The colony ship New Hope is commander. Their life support is failing. How many on board? 2,400 civilians, mostly families. Children. Zaroth closed his eyes briefly. This was supposed to be a simple relocation mission. 3 colony ships full of families moving to a new world, escorted by a military fleet. Now they were stranded 47 light years from the nearest Kilo outpost with dying ships and no way to call for help. Over the next hour, the full extent of their disaster became clear. 80% of the fleet had no working engines. The long-range communications array had been completely destroyed. Food supplies were limited. Several ships had radiation leaks, and that colony ship would run out of oxygen in less than 4 days. Zaroth made the hardest calculations of his life. Could they abandon some ships to save others? Which crews were essential? How did you choose who lives and who dies? Commander, Thessa's voice cut through his dark thoughts. Our long-range sensors detected something. Multiple ships approaching at faster than light speeds. Every cathel on the bridge froze out. Here, far from civilized space, that could only mean pirates or scavengers. Or worse. How many ships? Zaroth demanded. 5 vessels. They are large. Very large. They will arrive in approximately 12 minutes. Battle stations, all ships, power weapons. Vaughn looked up from his console, his expression grim even for him. Commander, most of our fleet cannot power weapons and life support at the same time. We are in no condition to fight. Then we will die fighting instead of waiting. Zaroth said firmly. It was the Keith way. But then Thea spoke again, her voice uncertain in a way he had never heard before. Commander, I am analyzing the approaching vessel's configuration. They are not warships, at least not primarily. 3 of them have markings on their hull, medical markings. Trick, Thorn muttered. Pirates often disguise their ships, perhaps Thesha. Agreed, but I must note that their weapons are powered down. They are approaching slowly in a non-threatening formation. The minutes crawled by. Zaroth watched his tactical display as 5 ships emerged from FTL space at a safe distance from his crippled fleet. They were big, blocky vessels with strange markings, and they were broadcasting on all frequencies. The translation software took a moment to process the alien language. Then a voice spoke through the bridge speakers, calm and professional. "This is the United Earth Space Vessel. Night Andil, we detected your distress signature from 14 light years away. We are here to render aid. Repeat, we are here to help. Please respond on any frequency." The bridge fell silent. Humans born whispered, his forearms going still. Zaroth had heard of humans. Every military officer in this sector had the intelligence reports called them dangerous, aggressive expansionists. 20 years ago, they had destroyed the Vex Union in a brutal war. They were known for never surrendering, for fighting with terrifying determination, for they say they are here to help. Dizia observed quietly. "It is a trick," Zaroth insisted, but even as he said it, he pulled up the tactical data. The human ships remained at a respectful distance. Their weapons stayed offline. They continued broadcasting peaceful messages in multiple languages, as if trying desperately to be understood. One of the human ships was truly massive, with Red Cross symbols painted on its white hull, medical symbols universal across dozens of species. Another appeared to be some kind of engineering support vessel bristling with construction equipment instead of guns. "Commander," his communications officer called out. "The colony ship New Hope just sent an emergency signal. Their life support is failing faster than expected. They have less than 3 hours. Now, the children are already having trouble breathing." Zaroth looked at the human ships on his display. Every instinct, every bit of training, every intelligence briefing told him not to trust them, but 2,400 civilians were dying. Children were suffocating. While he hesitated, the human broadcast continued, patient and steady. "We have medical facilities. We have oxygen. We have engineers. Please let us help." Zaroth made his decision. He opened a channel, speaking slowly so the translation software would work properly. "Human vessels, this is Commander Zaroth of the Krill Imperial Fleet. We need assistance." The response came immediately, and the human voice sounded relieved. "Thank you, Commander. We are moving to assist. You will not regret this." As Zaroth watched the human ships approach, he gripped his command chair tightly. He hoped he had not just doomed them all, but what choice did he have? At least they would know the truth about humans before the end. He never expected that truth to be so different from everything he believed. Captain Maria Chen studied the broken alien fleet through the viewport of the UESV Nightingale. 37 warships scattered and damaged, 3 colony ships, one of them dying, thousands of lives hanging by a thread. "Status report," she commanded her second officer. "Lieutenant Park, check the readings. The colony ship has maybe 2 hours of breathable air left. Their life support system suffered a cascade failure. It is bad, Captain." Maria nodded slowly. She had been a rescue coordinator for 15 years, first on Earth during the Pacific earthquake crisis, then in space. She had seen disasters before, but this was Her first time dealing with an alien species. Are they responding to our hails? She asked. Not yet. They powered up their weapons when we arrived, but they have not fired. I think they are scared of us. Maria found that darkly amusing. Here, they were trying to help, and the aliens thought they were the threat, but she understood in their position she would be suspicious too. Admiral James Okoro's face appeared on her communication screen. The Admiral commanded the escort vessel, the UESV Covenant. Captain Chen, what is your assessment? That colony ship will not last much longer, sir. We need to move now. The aliens have not given us permission to approach. We cannot just force our way onto their ships. Maria clenched her jaw. She hated politics. When people were dying, sir, with respect, I did not become a doctor to watch children suffocate while we wait for paperwork. Okoro was quiet for a moment, then he smiled slightly. I did not hear that, Captain, but if your ship happens to have a navigation malfunction that brings you closer to that colony vessel, well, these things happen in damaged space. Maria understood. He was giving her unofficial permission to act. Thank you, Sir. Nightingale out. She turned to her crew. Take us to the dying colony ship. Prepare all boarding teams. I want oxygen generators, portable life support, and every medic we have ready to go in 5 minutes. Captain, the aliens still have weapons pointed at us, Lieutenant Park warned. Then we will have to trust that they want to live more than they want to shoot. Maria keyed the shipwide intercom. All personnel, this is the captain. We are going in. Make me proud. The night Andel moved forward slowly, broadcasting continuous messages of peace. Maria watched the alien warships carefully. Would they fire their weapons? Tracked her ship, but no shots came. Finally, a response crackled through the speakers. The translation software made it sound choppy and strange. Human vessels, this is Commander Zaroth of the Kathil Imperial Fleet. We need assistance. Maria felt relief wash over her. Thank you, Commander. We are moving to assist. You will not regret this. 20 minutes later, the Nightingale matched position with the colony ship called New Hope. It was a strange vessel, built in a style completely unlike human ships, but Maria could see the scorch marks, the damaged sections, the flickering lights that meant failing power. She led the first boarding team herself, wearing a sealed environmental suit. They carried enough equipment to supply a small hospital. Dr. Yuki Tanaka and Dr. Marcus Webb were with her, along with Lieutenant Park and a dozen other specialists. The airlock connection took several tense minutes, then the seal confirmed and the door opened. Maria stepped into the alien ship and stopped in surprise. Hundreds of aliens filled the corridor, all of them watching her team. They were insect-like with chitinous armor and mandibles, standing on 4 legs with 2 arms each. Children hid behind adults. Everyone looked terrified, and they should be terrified. Maria realized they were dying, and strange creatures in bulky suits had just forced their way onto their ship. Maria slowly removed her helmet, making sure they could see her face. The air was thin and smelled strange but breathable for a short time. She wanted them to see she was not a monster. We are here to help, she said clearly, hoping their translation system was working. My name is Maria Chen. I'm a doctor. We have oxygen and medical supplies. One of the aliens stepped forward, an older female holding a small child. The child's breathing was rapid and shallow. The mother spoke in clicking sounds, which the suit's translator converted to words. "My daughter cannot breathe well, please." Maria knelt down, making herself smaller and less threatening. Dr. Tanaka set up the portable oxygen system here. Dr. Webb, start checking the children first. Her team moved quickly, efficiently. They set up oxygen generators in the corridors. They checked the aliens, carefully learning their biology as they went. Human medical scanners did not work perfectly on alien bodies, but they worked well enough. Lieutenant Park led an engineering team deeper into the ship, following K-Thrill engineers to the broken life support system. There were language barriers and confusion, but humans and aliens working together with hand signals and shared determination made surprising progress. Maria watched Dr. Webb spend 40 minutes with one small Carol child who had breathed too much carbon dioxide. The child was barely conscious. Webb tried 3 different approaches before finding one that worked, adapting human medicine for an alien body. When the child finally took a deep, clear breath, her mother made a sound that the translator could not convert, but Maria understood perfectly. It was the sound of a mother's relief. News spread across the fleet through their communication channels. The humans were actually helping. They were not attacking. They were not taking prisoners. They were simply doing what they said they would do. Admiral Akora contacted Commander Zaroth directly. Maria listened to the conversation on her helmet radio. "Commander, our scans show 19 other vessels in your fleet with critical damage. We have the resources to help them. Will you accept our assistance?" There was a long pause. Then Zaroth's voice came through, sounding tired and amazed. "Why are you doing this? We are not your people. We owe you nothing. We could be your enemies." Akoro's response was simple. "You are people who need help. That is all the reason we need. So will you accept?" Another pause. Then Zaroth spoke words that would change everything. "Yes. Please help my fleet, and thank you." Maria smiled as she watched more human ships move toward the damaged alien vessels. Rescue craft launched like a swarm of helpful bees. Engineers carried custom-made repair parts. Medical teams prepared for different alien biologies. This was what humanity did best, she thought. Not war, not conquest. This helping people who needed help. The K-Thrill around her had stopped looking so afraid. Some were even trying to communicate with her team, pointing at injuries, asking questions, attempting to help with the rescue efforts. One young Krill approached Maria shyly. He held out something that looked like food. Maria's translator processed his words. "For you. You saved my sister." "Thank you." Maria accepted the gift carefully. She had no idea if she could eat it, but the gesture meant everything. "You are welcome," she said softly. "That is what we do." Over the next 3 days, the rescue operation grew into something remarkable. Engineer Rodriguez stood in the cargo bay of his support vessel, surrounded by Keith engineers. They were trying to solve a problem together, and the language barrier made it frustrating. But slowly, through hand signals, rough drawings, and shared determination, they figured it out. "Power coupling here," Rodriguez said, pointing at a damaged alien component. "It needs to be replaced, but we do not have the right parts." One of the K-Thrill, a young engineer named Crix, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. He pulled up a holographic display showing the specifications. The numbers meant nothing to Rodriguez, but the shape was clear. "We can make it," Rodriguez said, pulling out a portable 3D printer. "Show me exactly what you need for the next 6 hours." Humans and Kethel worked together to fabricate custom parts. The 3D printer hummed constantly, creating replacement components adapted from human designs to work with alien technology. It was not perfect, but it worked, ship by ship. The human crews spread through the fleet. They brought oxygen to dying vessels. They patched hull breaches with temporary seals. They rigged emergency power systems using parts from their own supplies. On the colony ship New Hope, Dr. Tanaka discovered another problem. The Kethil were running out of food, and they could not eat human rations. Their biology required different proteins. "Can you tell me what you normally eat?" she asked Shiara, the mother whose daughter she had helped save. Shiara led her to the ship's food storage, which was nearly empty. Dr. Tanaka took samples and ran them through her portable laboratory. The base proteins were similar to some Earth insects, not the same but similar enough. "We can work with this," Dr. Tanaka muttered. She contacted the Night Andel's food synthesis lab. "I am sending you a molecular breakdown. We need to make something that Keith can digest. Use the cricut protein base we brought for experimental rations." 12 hours later, the humans delivered crates of synthesized food. It did not taste like traditional Carol cuisine, Shiara admitted, but it was nutritious and safe. Her people would not starve. Little acts of kindness added up. Human medics learned to recognize Kethil medical emergencies. Engineers from both species began trading jokes through translation software, laughing at the awkward results. Children played together despite the language barrier, inventing games that needed no words. Lieutenant Sarah Park found herself teaching a group of Keith younglings how to play a simple Earth game with a ball. The Kethil children had 4 legs and could move faster than she expected, which made the game chaotic and hilarious. Their laughter sounded like musical clicks, but not everyone was convinced. Captain Daxter commanded one of the warships that had refused human help. He watched the rescue operations with deep suspicion. In his mind, no species helped others without wanting something in return. "They are learning our weaknesses," he told Commander Zaroth over a private channel. "They are mapping our ships, studying our technology. This is reconnaissance disguised as mercy." Zaroth understood Daxter's concerns. He had felt the same way at first, but he had been watching carefully for 3 days now. "What do they gain?" Daxter, "They are spending their resources. Their ships are running low on supplies. 3 of their medical staff collapsed from exhaustion yesterday and had to be relieved. If this is reconnaissance, it is the most expensive and inefficient method I have ever seen." "Then why?" Daxter demanded. "Why do they help us?" Zaroth had asked the same question to Admiral Akoro yesterday. The human's answer had been simple and confusing: "Because you need help." As if that explained everything. Scholar Lith, the assistant to Navigator Thesha, had made it her mission to understand humans. She interviewed them whenever possible, recording everything. Most humans found her constant questions amusing rather than annoying. "Why did you volunteer for this rescue mission?" she asked Dr. Marcus Webb, the civilian. Doctor who had saved Shiara's daughter. Webb looked surprised by the question. Why? Because people needed help. I am a doctor, it is what I do, but these are not your people, your species owes nothing to the kill. Does that matter? Webb asked genuinely. If I saw someone drowning, would I check their species before throwing them a rope? Lith found this answer both simple and profound. She could not compute it logically, but emotionally it made perfect sense. Breakthrough in cross-species cooperation came on the fourth day. Team of human and Kale engineers managed to restore main power to one of the warships when the lights came back on and the engines hummed to life. Both species cheered together that night in the recreation area of the New Hope. Something unexpected happened. The humans had brought music, playing it from portable speakers. Keith gathered to listen to this strange alien sound. Then one brave human started dancing. It looked ridiculous, and some Kethel clicked their mandibles in what might have been laughter, but then a young Keith joined in, moving in a completely different way. Soon humans and Kethel were dancing together, each species doing their own movements, creating something chaotic and beautiful. She watched her daughter dancing with a human child, both of them laughing. 3 days ago she had thought humans were monsters. Now she watched one of them make funny faces to entertain Keithel. Children, she approached Captain Chen, who stood at the edge of the gathering, smiling tiredly. Captain Chen, Shiara said formally, you saved my daughter's life. In Cathol culture, this creates a bond. My family will remember your name for 10,000 generations. This is our way. Maria looked touched. You do not need to do that. We were just doing our job. That is what makes it worthy of remembering. Shiara replied, you see it as normal. We see it as extraordinary. Later that night, as Maria walked back to the nightingale, she passed Engineer Rodriguez working on another repair. He had been awake for almost 20 hours straight. Rodriguez, get some sleep, she ordered. Just finishing this power relay, Captain. The Keith need it for their water recycling system. Keith have their own engineers, I know, but working together we get it done faster. He grinned. Besides, Criggs taught me a new welding technique. Human and Kyle metallurgy combined create stronger bonds. I want to try it. Maria shook her head, but she was smiling. This was humanity at its best, not the wars, not the conflicts. This people helping people, learning from each other, building bonds stronger than the metal they welded. The rescue operation continued through the night with humans and Keith working side by side. No longer strangers, slowly becoming something else. The alarm came at 300 hours on the 6th day of rescue operations. Commander Zaroth was pulled from the first real sleep he had gotten in a week. The voice of his communications officer was sharp with panic. Commander, the warship Thunderstrike reports a reactor containment breach. It is going critical. Zaroth was on his feet instantly. How long do we have? Their engineer estimates 47 minutes before complete meltdown. If it explodes, it will destroy Thunderstrike and 3 nearby vessels. Zaroth felt his blood turn cold. The Thunderstrike was positioned near 2 damaged ships that could not move and one of the colony vessels. Thousands of lives. Order all nearby ships to evacuate. Get everyone into escape pods. Commander, the damaged ships cannot launch all pods in time, and Thunderstrike's crew cannot abandon Their posts or the reactor will go. Critical even faster, it was an impossible situation. The reactor needed constant monitoring to delay the meltdown, but anyone staying would die. And even if Thunder Strike's crew sacrificed themselves, the explosion would still kill thousands more. Get me? Thunder Strike's engineering section. Zaroth commanded, a Kethil engineer, appeared on the screen, his mandibles trembling. Commander, we can manually vent the reactor core, but someone has to do it from inside the containment chamber. The radiation levels. No one can survive more than 3 minutes of exposure, and the venting process takes 12 minutes. Zaroth understood immediately it was a suicide mission. How many crew members would be needed? 4 engineers minimum to operate all the manual controls simultaneously. Before Zaroth could respond, another voice cut into the channel. It was Captain Maria Chen. Commander Zaroth, we heard your transmission. We have radiation suits, experimental, but they might provide enough protection. We are sending a team. Captain Chen, you do not understand. The radiation will kill anyone in that chamber. Your suits will not be enough. Then we buy your people time to evacuate. Her voice was calm. Decided. I need volunteers. Who is willing on the human engineering vessel? Rodriguez heard the call. He looked at his crew. 6 hands went up immediately. Then 12 more. Then everyone in the room had their hand raised. Rodriguez selected 5 others to go with him. They were all veterans, experienced with reactor systems. They put on the experimental radiation suits, heavy and uncomfortable, designed for short exposures to radiation, not sustained doses. Listen, Rodriguez told his team as they prepared, we do this fast. We get in, vent the reactor, and get out. We follow the Keith instructions. Exactly, but everyone in that room knew the truth. They were going in, but they might not be coming out. Admiral Akoro tried to stop them. Rodriguez, I cannot order you to do this. It is a suicide mission. You are not ordering us, sir. We are volunteering. Those ships have families on them, children. We can save them. 20 minutes later, the human team boarded the Thunder Strike. The Keith crew stared at them with a mixture of awe and horror. These humans were walking into lethal radiation to save aliens they had met less than a week ago. 4 Keith engineers insisted on joining them. This is our ship, one said firmly. We will not let you die alone for our mistake. Together, 10 engineers entered the containment chamber. The radiation counters on their suits immediately began climbing. Red lights warning. Sounds, numbers that meant death. Focus on the task. Rodriguez commanded. Crix, show us which valves to open first. The Kethil engineer named Crix moved to a control panel. His hands shook, but his voice was steady. This valve first. It requires both the red and blue handles to be turned simultaneously. Rodriguez and a Kethil engineer worked together, their suited hands gripping the heavy valves. They turned in unison, and a massive pressure release sounded through the chamber. Good. Next, we need to manually align the venting channels. Crix continued. They worked methodically, following the emergency procedure, but the radiation kept climbing. The human suits were smoking, the material degrading under the intense exposure. The Kethil were suffering even worse without specialized protection. 6 minutes left, Rodriguez reported. His voice was starting to sound strained. One of the Keithil engineers collapsed. Then another. The remaining Keith and humans shared the work, each taking multiple positions, racing against time and radiation. Final valve, Crix gasped, everyone. Together, on my count, 10 hands grabbed the massive wheel, turned the valve, screamed as it moved, then with a sound like thunder, the reactor vented its core safely into space. The pressure dropped, the temperature decreased. The reactor was stable. Evacuation now, Rodriguez ordered. They stumbled out of the containment chamber. Medical teams from both species were waiting. Dr. Tanaka took one look at the radiation readings and her face went pale. 2 Keithil engineers died within the hour. Rodriguez and his team were rushed to the Night Andal's medical bay. Their radiation exposure was catastrophic. 3 humans died by morning. Rodriguez and 2 others clung to life there, bodies fighting a battle they could not win. Commander Zaroth came to visit them. In medical, Rodriguez could barely speak, his body failing, but he managed. A weak smile. Did we save them? Yes, Zaroth said, his voice thick with emotion. All 3 ships evacuated safely. Because of you, 3,000 lives were saved. Rodriguez nodded slightly. Good. That is good. He died 6 hours later. 2 other surviving humans passed soon after. The Keithil held a memorial ceremony, the most sacred ritual. Their culture, they honored the fallen humans as warriors, as heroes, as saviors. They spoke each name with reverence. They promised to remember Captain Daxier, the skeptical warrior who had distrusted humans from the beginning, stood before the assembled crews of both species. His voice was rough with emotion. I did not believe humans could be trusted. I thought they were here for conquest, for advantage, for gain. I was wrong. He paused, looking at the memorial display showing the faces of the 7 beings who had died in that reactor chamber. They gained nothing from this. They lost everything, and still they went. They died for us, for people they barely knew, for a species that doubted them. He turned to Admiral Okoro. How do we repay this debt? How do we honor such sacrifice? Okoro stood, his own eyes wet with tears for his lost crew. You honor them by remembering, by telling the truth about what happened here, by treating others with the same compassion they showed you that night. Scholar Lith compiled her final report on humanity. She had tried to understand them logically, to find the strategic advantage in their actions. She had failed, but she understood them emotionally. Now humans helped because someone needed help. They sacrificed because it was right. They gave without expecting return, because that was who they chose to be. It was not logical. It was not strategic. It was simply beautifully human, and it changed everything the Krill believed about the universe. On the 9th day, the Keith fleet was ready to move. Not perfect, not fully repaired, but stable enough to limp to the nearest outpost at slower than light speeds. The human engineers had worked miracles with limited resources, creating hybrid systems that combined human and Kale technology in ways neither species had imagined before. Commander Zaroth stood on the bridge of the Bright Talon, looking at the human vessels through his viewport. The Night Andal looked worn now, its white hull marked with scorch marks and dents from the rescue operations. The engineering support ships had given away so many parts that their own systems were running on backup power. How are our fuel reserves? Sarav asked engineer. Vaughn, sufficient to reach the outpost. Barely, we used a lot of fuel on the repairs and the humans, Vor's forearms moved across his console, their fuel reserves are critical, they gave us most of their spare reserves. Their medical supplies are completely exhausted, their food supplies are low, Commander. They gave us everything they could spare, and then they gave us more. Zaroth felt a deep shame. His people had suspected the humans of treachery, had kept weapons pointed at them even while they saved. Cathro lives, and the humans had simply kept helping. Send a message to Admiral Akoro. I wish to speak with him. Minutes later, Akoro's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired with dark circles under his eyes, but he smiled warmly. Commander Zaroth, it is good to see you, Admiral. I must ask, you have given us so much. What payment do you require? Technology resources. We have mining rights in several systems, or perhaps information about our sector of space. Name your price. Okuro looked surprised. Then he shook his head gently. Commander, you owe us nothing. We did not help you for payment. We helped because you needed help. That makes no sense. Zaroth's mandibles clicked in frustration. No species acts without self-interest. There must be something you want. There is, Akora admitted. Someday you will find someone else who needs help, maybe another species stranded and afraid, maybe someone who suspects your motives and points weapons at you while you try to save them. When that happens, remember what we did here and pay it forward. Pay it forward. Help them the way we helped you. That is all we ask. The debt is not to us, it is to the next person who needs help. Zaroth sat back in his command chair, processing this concept. It was completely foreign to Keith thinking, but it felt right in a way he could not explain. I understand, he said quietly. We will remember. The next day, both fleets prepared for departure. The humans would escort the krill to the edge of safe space before returning home. It should have been a simple goodbye. Instead, it became something more. Shiara came to the night, and Gale personally, she brought her daughter in a small token, a piece of carved crystal that shimmered with inner light. She presented it to Captain Maria Chen with great ceremony. This is a family blessing token, Shiara explained. It has been passed down in my line for 300 generations. I give it to you now. You saved my child. My bloodline will remember your name forever. Maria held the crystal, carefully feeling its weight. Shiara, I cannot take something so precious. You must. In my culture, refusing such a gift is a grave insult. You saved not just my daughter, but our future. Every child she has, every grandchild, every generation to come, exist because of you. This debt is eternal. Maria accepted the token, tears in her eyes. Then I will treasure it, and I will tell people about you, about your courage and trusting strangers. Throughout both fleets, similar scenes played out. Keith gave gifts to humans. Humans gave gifts to Cathrall. Engineers exchanged technical diagrams and promised to stay in contact. Children cried as they said goodbye to new friends. Lieutenant Park found young Crix, the Cathal engineer she had worked with in the reactor chamber. He had survived barely and still moved slowly from the radiation exposure. You are a brave soul, Park told him. You went into that chamber knowing you might die. So did you, Crix replied, and you are not even Keithil. Why did you do it? Park thought about the question. Because It was right because those ships had people on them who wanted to live. Because I could help, is that not enough? Crix clicked his mandibles in. What Park had learned was a Keithil. Smile, you humans are strange, but I am glad we met you, Captain Daxter. Approached Admiral Akoro on the final day. The hardened warrior looked uncomfortable, struggling with words. Admiral, I was wrong about your people. Completely wrong. We were taught that humans were monsters, aggressive conquerors. We were taught to fear you. And now, Akoro asked, now I know the truth. You are not monsters. You are not saints either. You are simply decent. Relentlessly, stubbornly decent. You help because you can. You sacrifice because it is right. This frightens me more than any weapon you could carry. Why does it frighten you? Daxter looked at the stars. Because it means we were wrong about so many things. If we were wrong about humans, what else are we wrong about? It makes me question everything I believed. Akoro put a hand on the Keithril's armored shoulder. Good. Never stop questioning. That is how we grow. The final departure was bittersweet. The human ships powered up their engines. The Keithril fleet formed up in escort formation. Together they jumped to FTL, traveling in convoy toward safety. 3 days later they reached the edge of Keithril space. Long-range sensors picked up patrol ships from the Seathril Empire coming to assist their stranded fleet. This is where we leave you, Admiral Akoro transmitted. Safe travels, Commander Zeroth. It has been an honor. Zeroth watched the human ships turn away, preparing to jump back to human space. On impulse, he opened a final channel. Admiral Akoro, before you go, I want you to know something. I am sending a full report to Keith High Command. I am telling them everything that happened here, everything. Some will not believe it. Some will call me foolish for trusting humans, but I will tell the truth. You deserve that much. What will you tell them? Zeroth chose his words carefully. I will tell them that we were wrong, that humans are not the enemy, that when we needed help most, when we were dying in the void, humans came, not to conquer, not to exploit, to save. I will recommend immediate diplomatic contact with your people. I cannot promise they will listen, but I will try. That is all we can ask. Thank you, Commander. Perhaps someday our peoples will meet again under better circumstances. The human ships jumped to FTL, disappearing in a flash of warp space. Zeroth watched the spot where they had been, feeling an unexpected sadness. Navigator Thesha stood beside him, her energy form flickering thoughtfully. They change us, Commander. This fleet, our people. We are not the same as we were 10 days ago. No, Zeroth agreed. We are not. 6 months later, Scholar Lith's documentation of the rescue was published across multiple species networks. It went viral, spreading through dozens of civilizations. The concept of human rescue culture fascinated the galaxy. The Keithil Empire debated fiercely about opening diplomatic relations with humanity. Conservative factions warned against trusting the aggressive humans, but Zeroth's report, backed by thousands of witness testimonies, could not be ignored. On a newly established Keith colony world, the settlers voted on a name for their settlement. They chose New Covenant in honor of Admiral Akoro's ship. They erected a memorial to the 7 beings who died in the reactor chamber, with their names carved in both Keith and human languages. And when the human rescue crews returned home to Earth, there was no grand ceremony, no parade, just quiet acknowledgement from their own people. For them it had been just another mission, just another day. Helping those who needed help, Captain Maria Chen kept Chiara's blessing token on her desk. Sometimes when missions were hard and she felt tired, she would hold it and remember that what they did mattered, remember that compassion could change the universe one rescue at a time. And somewhere in deep space, other species began to wonder if humans treated strangers with such kindness, what could the galaxy become? If everyone did the same, the answer slowly was beginning to unfold.